Hi guys, welcome to the first keynote of today. I'm going to talk about designing for longevity, a framework for building products that stand the test of time. And who am I? Why am I here? Why am I talking to you about this? I'm Anna Christensen. I've been in the apparel industry for about 20 years. I've been a designer. That's kind of my profession. I'm a creative director, and we've worked with hundreds of startups and other businesses, and we run two primary businesses. One is Designer, which is a design agency where we focus on strategy, branding, and design for sports and outdoor businesses. We're based in Gothenburg. We're 5 people in our team. And the other business is an educational platform called Apparel Entrepreneurship, where we help people start and run successful apparel businesses. And there's a course, there's a membership, there is a book, there is YouTube, all these things. So if you're a startup and want to DIY, you're going to Apparel Entrepreneurship. If you're a brand and want hands-on help, then you go to Designer. And this is what I'm going to run through today. First, the problem. Why does it matter that we design products that live longer? Then I'm going to talk to you about some stats. It's not looking pretty. Where are we now? Then I'm going to cover the framework. We've created our own little framework. It's called Sustain 20, and it looks at 20 strategies from a holistic perspective. And then my goal for today, for doing this, is to inspire you, to motivate you, and to give you some ideas that you should implement and can implement in your businesses. I'm sure you've seen this over and over again. 80% of a garment's environmental impact is decided in the design phase. But if the business itself, if the decision makers have not supported this cause and don't have this on their agenda, it's never going to happen here. It's never going to happen in the design phase. So that's why I'm going to talk to you about the different strategies from a holistic point of view, because it needs to be implemented first in the brand itself and then trickle down and then working together with different entities to make this possible. Let's see, we're good? We're good on sound? All right, back on. So design for longevity, what is it? What do we mean when we say that? We mean creating products that last and perform during an extended period of the time, products with an optimal lifetime taking in consideration the resources and the business and the user. And as a business, we preferably want the business to take responsibility for the products, also after the product has been sold, making sure they don't end up as waste, and not to have this linear effect of, here, I'm a brand, here's my product, we sold it, now we don't really care what happens with it. And then why is this important? Because we want a world without waste. We want a circular system where resources are used sustainably, and we want to create products with a very long life. Who's this for? The decision makers, preferably, because that's where it starts. They need to make sure that this is a goal. And then, of course, designers, product teams, marketing and sales, every department involved in the brand. Suppliers and manufacturers, of course, and tech businesses are there to support you because they are creating and giving you the tools to offer circular solutions. And some stats. I'm sure you've seen some of these. I'm going to run through them pretty quickly. Each year, millions of tons of clothes are produced, worn, and thrown away. The consumption of clothing and footwear is expected to increase by 63% by 2030, from 62 million tons to 102 million. That's not so great. 57% of all discarded clothes end up in landfills, and circa 15% of the fabrics used in production is waste. In Europe, we've got 26 kilos of textile that are consumed per person every year. 42% of these are thrown away or become waste, and in total, 11 kilos of clothing per person is wasted. Textile to textiles recycling is about 1%, with most of the waste ending up in landfill or incinerators. So the fact is that this is actually the most important thing in a product's long life, to have a product be worn more and more and more and more. Not by one person, but many people, and put back into a system. So to actually look at solutions, we need to see what are the problems. What are the problems? Why do people throw out their stuff? It's because it's just ugly, because they don't like it anymore. It's because it's damaged, because it's shrunk, because it's out of fashion or out of trend. They don't like the style anymore. They don't like the brand anymore, because the brand does crazy stuff, which they do sometimes. So you don't feel that you have the same values. You want something new. You're just bored of the product. You bought it for one-time use only. So these are the problems. And to tackle these problems, we've looked at some aspects, and these are the three aspects that are put together as an entity to create a long-lasting product. So first, we've got the physical aspect of a product, which it takes in consideration the product, the fit, the materials, everything that's physical with it. And then we've got the emotional aspect. And here we're talking about kind of like what you're feeling for the product. If you're liking it, if you kind of don't liking it, if you memories or nostalgia that you have attached to that type of product, and the connection that you have to that brand. And then we're looking at the psychological aspect, which is more connected to decisions that you're making, that you're making them. There might not be good or bad, but you're making them with an intent. And so here we're looking at, let's say you're going skiing and you're going to ski for 3 days only, and you don't want to pay for super expensive clothes for your kids because they're going to grow out of it. And so that's one of the problems. Or for social media today, the younger generation, if they've worn a product twice, it's out of fashion. They think it's old, so they don't want to show themselves in it. So this is the aspect that we're talking about, the social pressure and the constant pressure to come up and to present yourself with always constantly new things. Because the behavior is not that if I'm showing myself in a garment that I've worn over and over again, that this is actually something to be proud of. So it's the social aspect that has to do with it. And here we're looking at, where do we start? Again, we're starting with the brand itself. It's not the other way around with the customer. It needs to start with the brand. It needs to start with wanting the brand to implement this change and then find the solution to solve it. And the end goal, of course, is to minimize waste, but how to do it in a not circular loop, but of course circularity is kind of like what we're talking about here, but it's more like how can we support the end user in not throwing the product away, and in the product itself that we've created, for that to not end up as waste. So I'm going to start talking about the Sustain 20 framework, the 20 different strategies. First one out is design new business models. Many of the models here are not new. It's just that you need to start combining them and implementing them in your business. So instead of, again, the linear type of business model where the product is sold to the consumer and then that's it, you're hands off, look at it. How can you implement a resale model, a rental model, subscription, and also pre-order? Many D2C brands do this already, but not so many retail brands. They could do it because most of the businesses have their own websites, so they could start playing around with these type of models. But it's just, again, how can we do it to kind of put the product into circulation? So Houdini, they do the rental and the resale model. Of course, you all know Patagonia with their recrafted program. And then, of course, many D2C brands do pre-orders. So they create the product, then they put it on the website, they get orders, they have a period of time to when they get orders, and when the period is out, that's when they create the products afterwards. Number 2, design for demand. So work with the demand-driven production, design out overproduction, unsold, and discounts. Because what we've ended up is, as you know, Black Friday, what do brands do? Get rid of their stuff. And it's discount and discount, and people lose the effect, and the value of the brand is decreased, and people don't have this feeling that they're paying for something unique and something great. It's just like throwaway stuff because it's so cheap. So work more with the design, sell, and make model instead of a design, make, and sell model. Between 20%, 20 and 60% of all products is never sold or is sold at the discount. And I'm sure you've seen the Lululemon campaign, which was really weird, but it got a lot of attention, where they literally, that was the campaign, we made too much, help us buy our stuff, or, overproduction. Not something to be really proud of. And so how do you design for demand? There's some questions you could be asking yourself. What product does your customer want and need? And for each product, ask, do you actually need to create it? Does it need to exist for your brand? What are your best sellers and your worst sellers? You should have the stats for that. What products do you do best that no other competitor does? Lean in on those. If you would drop 25% of the collection, what styles would you drop? What products are most representative for your brand? And what products have you already designed that can be tweaked, reconstructed, redesigned, optimized, and maximized for longevity? So again, already here, there's a lot to look at to implement at least a little bit of the strategies. Number 3, design for purpose and function. It's easy to say that here since we're, working with sports products and functional and performance products, but more designed for clear purpose. The product needs to have a strong reason of being in the collection, but also what does the product do for the end consumer? How does it support, and what's the problem that it solves for the end consumer? And what is the intended use, basically? And what features does the product need to have to support the user? And don't add things to the product like embellishment and things that don't need to be there or help the user. If it doesn't have a function, don't put it in there. Design it out. Do you already have a similar type of product in the collection? Then don't add yet a new one. Design it out. Number 4, durability. Of course, this is one of the focus points in terms of having a product last longer. So of course, it's about using quality, strong, durable materials, components, and construction methods to choose to match the product's purpose for the target customer. And this, it's in the last words there where this matters, because it's not always that it's super clear what the purpose is and also who that target customer is. So what questions can you be asking yourself, and what should you focus on? And the materials, of course, have the right fiber, at the right strengths, at the right weight for the product, for the purpose. In finishes, use eco finishes like anti-stain or antimicrobial finishes to not wash the product so many times, for example. And the components, use, of course, the right components at the right place, strong ones and not delicate ones. But if they break, of course, make the construction so you can actually exchange them. Construction of the product, have the right type of seaming with the right thread, and opt, of course, for easy repair construction where possible. And we work with so many brands where they don't even know what the thread is because their manufacturer uses some local stuff. And what's one of the breakage points? It's the seams. So do you know what thread you're using? What if you would change the thread to something that's super, super strong? How much would that increase the length of the product? In the testing, do you do proper testing? Of course, now we're talking about both the materials and the product. Many brands do material testing, preferably do a lot of the testing before you're choosing the materials to put them into sampling and, of course, in the product and, of course, production. But make sure you're checking for chemicals, flammability, color fastness, tone celebration, and pilling tests, because when you're already there in these stages, in this phase, you can see a lot, and you basically get the stats if the fabric is good for what you intend it to be for or not. And then, of course, proper human testing. Most of the time frames are too short, so it's very rushed to put things into proper testing. But just by extending this testing period, you can tweak the product, you can change the materials to actually make the product better. And of course, to just fit the product at the fitting and put it on the model for 2 prototypes, that does not count as proper human testing. Design for timelessness. What do we mean here? Slow design. Design products to stand against trends. Of course, some level of trends is important because you don't want the brand to be outdated or to never feel that it's fitting in the time we're living in. So a contemporary approach is important, but still you can adjust the product to fit for a longer period of time and to make sure that in your collection, if you're not constantly renewing your collections, but if you're every new product that you're throwing in and that you're adding, make sure that it fits with the existing products that you already have. And think about the end user. For them, they don't actually care what the other products are in your collection. They only care that that product serves their purpose and they solves their problem, but also fits in with their existing products they have at home. They're thinking, what am I having in my wardrobe? How am I merchandising it together? What outfits can I build with this? So look at classical cuts and design lines. Use colors that can be combined, of course, with the existing colors in your own range and with their own wardrobe. But what's important is to not go only for the super dull, boring kind of type of colors, because then you're losing the merchandising. So yes, have this in mind, but think also about the visual effect that the entire collection has. So it brings the visual eye into the collection, into the pictures, because if you're seeing a picture, of course, you're seeing that sweater, but then you're only going to opt for the pants. But that's the sweater that kind of got your attention. Here in the picture, we've got Trek Club. It's a small Swedish brand, a running brand. They're fantastic. They're leaning in on the retro type of that's never gonna go away. It's never gonna get out of trend. And they have phenomenal colors, really good materials, local made things. So it's how can you apply timelessness to your existing things, and also look at how you can tweak your previous products. Can you change the colors slightly? Can you take away some cut lines, adjust them to fit a longer time frame? Design for versatility. Here we want products to do more instead of having people buy more products to do only one certain thing. So design products to be used in many different environments and weather conditions, because like a rain jacket, the rain jacket can be used sometimes even more on a commute than on a hike. But the style is appropriate for both urban and mountain outdoor type of environments. So have this in mind. How can a person use the style to do more? Like this t-shirt over here, it's from a Swedish brand called Norra. It's a merino t-shirt, and it's classical cut, classical color, can be used to all sorts of activities, doesn't need to be only for one type of activity. And of course, Patagonia, you guys know, everybody knows Patagonia. Design for minimal waste. And what do we talk about here? Previously, I mentioned that there is between 12 to 15% of waste from the production. So look at how you can minimize waste in the design phase. What can you do together with your pattern makers, of course, and with the technology that's today? How can you tweak the lines, the cut lines, to try to minimize waste as much as possible from the pattern lay? And also, it's of course, the scraps and everything that's left over, these can be recycled into put back into new materials that you could put back in use. Or what can you do with the scraps? Can you create other type of products with the scraps that you're having from the production? If you're thinking about this, I'm sure there will be solutions that you can see, things you can create. There's another brand called Rayburn, and they do small stuffed animals with their scraps. There's other things you can do than new garment. Maybe you can do some cufflinks. Maybe you can do a hat. Maybe you can do other smaller type of products with the scraps that you're having from your production. Design for minimal water, energy, and chemical use. And here we're talking about trying to, first of all, you wash products less if that's possible, but also, of course, in the pre-phase of a person using the product. So we're looking at recycled materials created, of course, with less water, less chemicals, less CO2, using minimal packaging, because packaging is also something that's hugely important here, because you don't need to have all the packaging, especially not if you're having your own shops or if you're doing D2C. That can be reduced dramatically. And opt for more natural fibers and local sourcing and manufacturing if possible. Of course, there's plenty of suppliers here that you can talk to with, for example, solution dye type of fabrics where they use less water. So it's, again, it's having this mentality of where can I kind of lower all the impact in all the different stages. You've got Polygen and Haiku. You can just talk to them, again, to use antimicrobial finishes on the materials in the garments. Designed for gender fluidity. 1 in 2 Gen Z consumers on average have purchased fashion outside of their gender identity. Personally, I use probably half of my husband's wardrobe. I like oversized styles, and he's got great taste. So I'm in there all the time. He's a size large. I'm a small medium, so it works. People use products that are not super snug. So how can you look at creating and merging products in your collections that actually fit for both men and women? Of course, there will be sizing, there will be different grading, all these aspects, yes, you need to take in consideration. But how can you, because this is also, it's not just about the product itself, but it's also enhancing the brand value, because people now, and especially the younger generation, they don't really see gender products are, they don't really, it's more of a, they don't really care that much. So I think instead of limiting, I think it could be opening up for new possibilities. And also, of course, your SKUs in your warehouse. You don't need to think about all the sizes, all the products, all the colors, everything. So it's just, it makes sense. Of course, you can't do this for all your products, but with a couple of products or a handful, if you can, I'm sure you can merge them together. And also, this is a fantastic marketing tool as well, to bring attention, to bring in different genders, of course, but different ages, just to create that effect and have people talk about your brand in a positive way. Design for possibility of personalization. And here we're touching on how can you create products for your customer that fit them, because when people get engaged personally in creating something or having products made for them, of course they're going to keep the product because they're going to love it. It's going to fit them better. It's going to fit their taste better. They're engaged mentally and physically in something that they don't want to, it's not a throwaway thing. So for example, made to order products, you don't have stock, you don't have overproduction. Of course, that's the biggest effect. But for example, here you've got made apparel, and they do fit for you products. So they're an outdoor garment manufacturer, but they scan your body, and then they take the measurements, and then they create the products for your measurements. So the brand doesn't have any stock. They don't create any left products or build up stock and then sell it to their customers. They create it by your own measurements. And then, of course, we've got Unmade, which is a tool that brands can have where you can create your own products, but then the customer can create their own designs. So you can mix and match different colors, different cuts, everything, just to be able to personalize your own garment. And of course, this is a marketing tool as well. You don't have to do it for all your products, but for a couple of products, I think, again, it's a really good eye opener and something that the customers will like. Designed for visual appeal. Of course, a product needs to be good looking. It's kind of like an understated thing, but at the same time, do you take the time and attention to actually question the cut lines, the colors, the design, the combination? Do you put the collection up and look at every single side? Is this the best design possible? Could we have done something different to it to increase the visual appeal? Do you have the right color combination? Is it the right colors? And the brand here answered, well, again, I'm rooting for the Swedish brands, a female startup, female founded, and then they create female only products, outdoor products, and they co-create their products with their customers. They ask them questions and then bring them on board. Of course, the customer, they have a phenomenal community, super strong community, because the people have been involved in creating the products. Designed for comfort, fit, and movement. Working in the sports and outdoor world, of course, you guys may be thinking, yes, of course, but it's not so often that you see a product. You work with a manufacturer, you don't have your own pattern team, you send it off, you give them some measurements, or send them some competitor samples, and you're like, yeah, here you go, and then you don't really have time to fully create the product and the development, it's all rushed, and so it comes back. Wah, wah, wah. We're here, it's like taking care of every single design line, every single where can you place the design line to enhance the comfort. And having this instant comfort when people fit on, they like the visual, they bring it out if they're in a store, they go in, try it out, and when you're in the fitting room, if something is off, you're not going to wear it. If you bought it and you come home and you're on your 1 week trek, you're like, it's not really comfortable, it's pulling, it's, snug, whatever. You're not going to use that product again. So fit is extremely, extremely important, but most of all is to have an engineered fit. So what can you do? You can use stretch materials where possible. You can design a somewhat relaxed fit where people can fit better. Different types of sizes and body types could fit better in your products. And you can use adjustments where possible so people can fit the product perfectly on their own body. And you can design for optimal engineered pattern construction, meaning that again, every single line is put in a strategic place to enhance the volume and the movement of the garment. And then, of course, use skilled and experienced pattern makers and fit and test the product until it is perfected. And here again, this is where the testing comes in. Yet again, super important. Designed for easy care. We all know the garment that we have that says hand washing, and you're like, yeah, not really, and it just ends up in the locker, nobody's going to wash it. Or dry cleaning. Dry cleaning is not that great. Yeah, again, you need to do an extra thing to go and do it and then go and get it. So it's just a hassle. Design products for easy care means that people should be able to take care of the products at home, in the washing machine, easy, clean, and simple. But you need to instruct them on how to do it. Founder, for example, they have a phenomenal area on their website where it's literally dumb. It says exactly what to do, how to do it, it's extremely detailed and clear. Are you that clear with your products and with your customers? Do you instruct them on how to do? And if the product has, broken down somehow or something has torn, can you help them to get it fixed? Like, the wornwear, for example, everybody knows, again, is Patagonia. They help people mend their products and they repair everything for you. That service, again, for marketing reasons, has gotten more attention than the actual thing. So it's getting the customer accustomed to that. Yes, mending is good. I need to rather repair this thing than throw it out. And Norrøna has been doing this for a while as well. They support you, come in, and they fix the product for you. And again, it's not only about, yes, we're putting the information on the care labels because everybody knows what happens with the care labels. They get cut off and nobody knows how the hell should I wash my product. So it's about bringing the information and again educating and making sure you're not just leaving the customer, here's the product, ciao, bye, now don't have any responsibility, but just making sure you're in their face on how to take care of the product best, and if they can't take care of the product, where should they go so someone can help them. Design for long-term value. This has been more of a thing later, like nowadays, because everybody knows how second has been boomed, and we're looking at websites like Vestiaire Collective and Depop, and the second-hand value has increased with brands that create products, that create quality products. And here it's a matter of already in the design phase, how can you design the product for long-term value? You're thinking already. Think about a Rolex or a Hermes bag. The Rolex increases in value the minute you bought it. The same with a Hermes bag. What if your garment could do that as well? What if your garment, when you're selling it, it's not going to decrease in value, it's going to be an investment. Of course, you can't think about that with all type of products in your collections, like underwear, or socks, or things like that, that kind of like buy because of hygiene is not so great. But with other more like worked on products for outerwear, for example, or mid layers, these type of things could really be made to increase in value. And of course, this is not just from the designers, not just the designer's job. Of course, it has to do with the entire brand, with the development and marketing. Everything needs to come together again to educate the customer. Design for cyclability. This ties back into what I mentioned earlier. What does the customer do if they no longer want the product? What can they do with it? So of course, recycling the product and upcycling a garment, but can they do it by themselves? If not, where should they go? And design for easy recycling, look at designing with monomaterial and for easy disassembly. Again, I'm sure you can't do this for all your garments, but looking at certain types of product, you can tweak this or create mini collection where you can experiment, because implementing this in your entire range is not going to be possible at once. So you need to test these strategies out in smaller chunks to make sure that you can follow from the beginning full circle around, and have a system with your brand to recycle your own natural or synthetic fibers from production. And then of course, like you're seeing here, the Stella McCartney sweater over there, it's a jacquard. So they don't have any metal, there's no prints, no nothing. You can just recycle that entire garment. And then many brands don't have collecting boxes because they don't know themselves what to do with the products. So again, you can tackle it from very different angles to make sure that you're supporting the customer in making a decision for them, and then supporting them with whatever decision they want to make. Design with new technology. So many cool tools have appeared lately. So many, there's not time enough. And as a designer, it's extremely exciting. But again, you can't do this with everything. It takes time, especially to play around and work with Clo3D, with Browseware, Style 3D. It takes time to learn. But when you've learned it, of course, in the ideation phase and in the production phase, it's a phenomenal tool because you can visualize, you can make decisions much faster. You don't need as many prototypes. So these tools are extremely great to shorten the design phase, but also make sure that the product development is done better, quicker. You don't need so much of the physical things sent back and forward. And then you can look at tools to reduce returns with virtual fitting rooms, tackling fitting and sizing challenges. This, again, is huge, and many of the brands that get returns, those products are actually not many of them are put back in system because they don't end up at the same place, and so they need to be put in the system again. They need to be rechecked. So many are just literally just thrown out, the returns. And also use AI to speed up ideation and increase creativity. ChatGPT is phenomenal. I'm sure you know of it. It's a phenomenal tool to use to come up with strategies, but also with text to put it in all your communication, but also to feed the other machine, which is Midjourney, where you can visualize and conceptualize things. So using these tools together can really help you speed up the process. And also, you're so much in your head as the designer or as a team, you're kind of limited, but use these tools to kind of broaden your horizon and again, test it out. It is time consuming, it is going to cost, but allow yourself to try them out and see where you could be and see what they can do for you. Because this is where it's going. And NFTs, of course, they're to test NFTs. Again, NFTs, what they do, many things like, oh, I don't believe in this. It's not, I believe. It's about where the world is going, and it's about gamification. It's about growing a brand value and interconnecting the digital with the physical. So again, giving customers more angles to love you from. Designed for brand building. What I mean here is that design products that are unique and on brand for the target customer, for your target customer, but this needs to be based on the brand vision, mission, core values, and purpose. Many of the brands we work with don't even know what their mission is or what their core values is, or if you would ask their team quickly for an elevator pitch of the brand, they don't know. So it's going back to the fundamentals, going back to the roots, like what is our purpose? If you don't know it, spend time here, because when you know all this, this is going to dictate everything that you're doing, and you will have a clear purpose. And of course, the building a brand and having a strong brand builds the support and supports the second life of a product, because it increases the value of it, increases your emotional connection with that brand. And also many brands now do a lot of collaboration, and this has been popular for a while. But what you're doing is you're leveraging each other's customers, and you're bringing new customers in, and you're looking at things from different angles. So Houdini, for example, they work with Hodakova, and they were actually at the Paris Fashion Week, and the fashion brand used repurposed old Houdini products that couldn't be sold and created the design line. Phenomenal project. And of course, everybody, I mean, who could miss the Salomon shoe? And Rihanna, what did that do for the brand? And what if, imagine if that product could also be created with, of course, sustainable materials and put into a process, that would be even better. But this is the effect brand has on customers and on, again, on the longevity of the products that you're bringing. Because that product now, for sure, on the second-hand market is like, I don't even know how much that would cost now. Designed for storytelling. This ties back into creating, I didn't mention it, but on every slide, I'm sure you've seen the small icons, and these tie back into the three different aspects that I mentioned: the physical, the emotional, and the psychological. And I want to mention, see you guys taking pictures at the end. You can download, you can email me, and we can send you a PDF of this, so you don't have to spend time taking pictures. But designing for storytelling, what does that mean? Many brands go like, yeah, we need a product for this price point and this price point and this price point, and we need to copy this competitor's garment because they do so well, we need to put that in as well. Yes, that's an aspect, but at the same time, if you're looking back into what the brand, what do you as a brand want to do? What's your purpose? What do you want to say? What's your mission and values and your reason of being? And start with that, and then create products that have a story, because it's the stories that connect you to the customer, to their emotional aspect. It's, again, making you as a customer belong to the brand, belong to the product. You're curious about the product. It's not like it has a hood, it has a 2 zippered pockets, it has cuff adjustment, hem adjustment, yeah, it comes in blue and black. It's not about that. It's about building the story. So why was the product creating in the first place? What's the story behind it? What great new materials or technology was used when you birthed this product? What are the unique value propositions for the product? And what does this product have that no other product has? These are some questions you can ask yourself to make sure that you're looking at the product from different angles. Of course, you need the features. Of course, you need the bullets, the material. But again, it's not that that's going to sell the person wanting to buy this product. Again, mentioned Rayburn earlier, phenomenal brand from the UK, and they use stock materials and they repurpose garments into new, phenomenal, contemporary products. They have extremely good taste, but also they're very good with telling the story. So again, it's tying back to the story. And then you've got Pangaea here, they're using identical siblings, so as a story to say that by being united, we want people to come together and be united to help solve, the problems with waste and take care of a better world. So again, it looks good, they look cool, but then it ties into a story. It's not a generic whomever, they just found some models. It's thought out and it has a full-on story to tell. And of course, yeah, if you're as a designer and product developer, if you're feeding marketing with all the stories, they'll be super happy because then you've done their job. So it kind of comes full circle. Design for transparency and traceability, of course, because customer now, they want to know where the stuff comes from. And if you're saying as a brand, this is what we believe in this, we know we need to do something, legislation's popping up here and there, you're more or less forced into start working on this. But if first you need to know where you're at in order to kind of see where you're going. So look at, do you know how your supply chain looks like? Do you know the mills or the manufacturers, or do you know the subcontractors that you're working with? I'm sure many of you don't. Do you even know where the trim comes from? Do you know where the sewing thread comes from? I'm sure you don't always have full transparency of this. And so focus on ethical production, fair trade, organic recycled materials, have a code of conduct, support local production, and work with vertical supply chain, because then it's easier to kind of have control over things. And then track and measure first to improve and to build brand trust with your customers. And again, here we've got a Swedish brand, Asket. They have full visibility, full traceability on all their products. And they even say, this product is not 100% traceable. They show everything on the website. This one's not just 96%, because they know that. So again, it has to do with honesty and being open and kind of not kind of trying to hide things, instead of, because if the customer asks, they need to know. And for example, Picture Organic, they're also super transparent on their website. You can see who's made everything. You can see what how it is to work there. Everything is transparent. Again, it's a work that needs to be done, so it needs to start somewhere. Nobody says it needs to be 100% perfect from day one, because it's impossible. But somewhere, it's, along the way, look at where you're at, and then kind of try and trace and again, be open and honest on where you're at and what you're trying to do. Design for change. And here, if the customer doesn't know what's going on, they won't support you. So what is, again, this ties back into what I mentioned earlier. What is the purpose? What's the purpose of your brand? What are you trying to do? Do you even have a purpose? Many brands don't even have a purpose. Their own purpose is to sell stuff. They just want to sell stuff to make money because they're shareholders. That's the entire business model. But again, if you're attacking a purpose to the business, and if you're looking at it, again, long term, the customer will believe in you and will want to support you on the journey. So tell them, what do you believe in? What do you take a stand in? And then show them how they can be part of this. Again, it builds brand, builds trust, it brings the emotional aspect to the products. I'm sure you've seen the Patagonia nice label. They don't shy away from saying exactly what they want people to do. But again, advocate for change. This is what this is about. Communication, this has not so much to do with the actual physical product, it has to do with communication. And again, you can do great things, but if you don't talk about the great things you're doing, your customer won't be able to tag along and support you and kind of root for you. So create a movement. And here it's about doing also events. What events can you do to rally your troops? How can you use and leverage social media and blogs and publications, of course, exhibitions you can do. There's conferences and there's festivals. What small physical things and, of course, online, what can you do to bring people together to support your cause? And here's a summary of the 20 strategies. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there again, these are interconnected. None of these work well in silos. All of them need to be placed and worked through together. So what do we mean first? Where are you at? Now you've seen it. Okay, it sounds a lot. How can we apply this? Well, first you need to decide where you're at and where do you want to go. And align all entities and decision makers and then match that and then create a plan and then go for it. Make a 2-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, at least make a plan and be open and honest about it and then work your way up. And do business cases for every single thing, all the different 20 strategies you can do business cases for to see how much does it cost, what's the ROI on this, how do we see this long term, short term, what team do we need, what do we need to, how are our processes, do they need to be changed? Because many processes, yes, brands work old school. It's like the same old processes, but can you shift things around and build new teams to make things faster and also for people to work closer and to work deeper as well through all the strategies? 1%, of course, you remember the 80% slide that I had in the beginning. That's where it happens in the design and product development stage of the environmental impact of a product. Yes, at the same time, you can work there and that's where you can focus the majority of your efforts. But at the same time, if you're looking at all the other strategies, if you could work through every single strategy, at least to improve them 1%, imagine what the compound effect would be for all of them combined. So this is what I want you to remember. If we could tweak anything, even at least 1%, because of course it's not going to be 1%, it might be 5% or 12% or 17 or 23. That's going to be, massive for you. And no, you cannot do design, cannot be responsible by themselves. You can't go back home and be like, yeah, design, here you go, create the long-lasting product, good job. You can't do that. It's a collaborative effort and it's a combined effort. And remember in the beginning I mentioned that first is the decision maker, this is the brands, the heads that need to take this decision. This is something we want to do. And then it trickles down from there. And of course, you can combine the strategies together to make a difference, but also talk to your suppliers, the manufacturers, the recycling entities. Everybody can come together and support each other. It's not like we're doing this over here and then we're popping in and it's great. No, it's a constant trial and error because this work is never going to be finished because new technologies arise, legislations pop up. You can never be, now we're sure, we're 100% done, good, we're sustainable, peace out. It doesn't work like that. So again, this ties back into the transparency and being open and communicating what you're doing and how people can support you. And that was it. And if you want to have the presentation, please email me and we'll send you the PDF. And yeah, this is if you want to get in touch and have a conversation or just chat or have a coffee or just, this is where you'll find us. Yeah. Done.
Thank you. Thank you for showing your appreciation. Anna, fantastic. If you guys haven't heard Anna before, you need to go onto the podcast. You can listen to the podcast whilst you're at work. The bosses will let you do it. If
And you're on it. You're on it.
One little part, they're hours, they're days worth of podcasts. You've got the book to read.
Yes.
Anna has seen it all, and trying to get her to contain everything in 1 hour is a lot harder work than you think. Anna will just go all day if we're allowed to. There are some very interesting subjects there. I've got some virtual questions. I'll also happily take some audience questions.
Yes.
But to all of those, what Anna said earlier, all these are being recorded and live streamed as it goes on. They will be uploaded to the website, so you'll get the full set of visuals to go with the sound of her voice in about 10 days' time. But, Anna, what standards/regulations with the adoption of regenerative... Oh, no, that's one from yesterday.
Yeah.
Can we find a copy of your presentation?
Yes, you can. Yes, and again, like if people email, of course we can send you the PDF. But in terms of just discussing, I mentioned earlier, not so many of these things are new, and it's not so much that's super different. What's new is the technology. What's new are the solutions. What's new that's fantastic is what the suppliers and the manufacturer kind of systems that they've created and that they work on, but the strategies are not that new. Everybody knows that for product to last, it needs to be durable. Everybody knows that, yes, we need to, if I don't love a product, then I'm going to toss it out. So it's not just design that needs to kind of like do this work. It's everybody in the company. I think that's, and combining these strategies together, I think that's where the magic happens, and also that's where the impact is, basically.
I also want to highlight something Anna mentioned earlier about transparency. Anna started to talk about transparency. We have the EU Green Deal incoming. There's a session on it at lunchtime today, but one of the aspects they won't be going into is about transparency. The textile industry is a lot further ahead than many other industries, but as you highlighted, although we're ahead of other industries, we're by no means perfect.
And it's never going to be finished. It's not a work that's done, finished.
Work.
Oh, yes.
So I'm still filling.
Looking
for questions. Are there no questions for Anna? Anna will stick around the stage afterwards, or the corner of it. Nora's on next, so you can speak to her on a one-to-one. But can I ask you to show your appreciation once again for Anna?
Thank you.